Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing an underrated dark flyer that this trainer used to climb up to 3380 ELO in the Open Great League, and that is Bombirdier. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Maxi, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now Bombirdier, it has a great moveset, Sucker Punch, Rock Tomb for debuffs, and Fly for some pretty nice damage. And this trainer runs a very standard ABB style team with Claydol lead, Galarian Moltres safe switch, and it looks like from their ELO they had some pretty nice results with it. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, picking up an okay lead Claydol into Shadow Dragonite. Claydol does have win cons here, but Maxi going to pivot out into the Galarian Moltres, as Galarian Moltres just out damages Shadow Dragonite in this matchup. So we will see the shield from the Galarian Moltres on the Dragon Claw. Opponent now going to switch out and send in Lapras, so it appears the opponent is completely core broken by Dark Flyer types if Lapras is their best response. As of course, Psywave is going to be double resisted here. They're never going to farm down. They're forced to take big damage here from the Ancient Power, and they're going to be forced to fire off a Sparkling Aria to pick up the knockout. So for Maxi, if this is the best response to the Galarian Moltres safe switch, this game is probably already over. We're going to see Claydol more than happy to absorb the Sparkling Aria and commit to a farm down. Opponent says no, they send in Dragonite, in comes Bombirdier, and with that small energy head start, Dragonite is able to make a Dragon Claw and force the final shield from Bombirdier. Being down a shield is unfortunate, but it has quite a bit of energy. Opponent is now going to send in the Lapras, hoping to make a move, but they don't get there. What do they have in the back? And it's Superior, and now we see why they had to send a Lapras into Galarian Moltres. They just had nothing for dark flying types. The back-to-back flies are reached, and this is going to be big damage onto Superior. Superior gets absolutely rocked. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Nice lead in the next match, leading into a Galarian Weezing, but a Credilli safe switch is going to prove to be a little bit problematic here. Credilli is going to fire off the Grass Knot, no baits here. That's going to rock the Claydol, which is going to return fire with the Ice Beam. Opponent is going to end up no shielding, and now in comes Galarian Moltres. Galarian Moltres, of course, can survive a Rock Tomb, so we are going to see an O-Shield as Moltres looks to farm down. The uncomfortable thing, though, is going to be that Galarian Weezing. That Weezing is going to be a pretty serious menace because the Claydol is so low. Moltres firing off the Ancient Power bait, able to grab the shield. Moltres, just shy of the Brave Bird. How well does the opponent know their counts? They end up double shielding, and now in comes Claydol. I think at this point, you just let the Claydol go. You're saving all shields for Bombirdier. They go for the Sludge. It does not knock out. Luckily, that Mud Slap damage had registered, so Bombirdier does get the 0-turn switch out here. Bombirdier finally going to use the first Protect Shield of the match. In the back is going to be Golisopod. Bombirdier is going to overfarm, playing to the CMP tie, denying Golisopod's energy with a Fly that is going to pick up the knockout. In comes the Weezing, but the Weezing would need back-to-back moves, and it simply does not have the energy. Fly comes out, down goes the Weezing, and that's going to be another win. Moving to game number 3, Claydol into Shadow Drapion. A pretty nice lead here for the Claydol, but if Drapion's ever able to get an energy advantage later in the match, things could get very, very tricky. Opponent safe swapped into a Hex Shadow Drifblim. Drifblim will go for the Icy Wind. That does huge damage to Bombirdier. Bombirdier, realizing that a farm down is not going to happen before that lightning fast pacing of Hex, is going to end up firing off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb, of course, comes with the guaranteed debuff and gets a shield from the opponent. They're going to Icy Wind again, but Bombirdier is able to keep swap. And the nice thing here is it's not going to give a lot of farm to the Drapion. In comes Claydol. Claydol going to be instantly met with an Aqua Tail that will be no-shielded. And now we will see, predicting the switch out. Very nicely done. In comes Galarian Moltres. Galarian Moltres not down on energy here. Moltres going to be no-shielding. It's the Acrobatics, but this is the non-Shadow Jumpluff, which means Acrobatics not going to be a big problem for the Moltres. Moltres going for an Ancient Power bait. Opponent is going to end up committing the shield, and now Moltres should be able to make it to a Brave Bird here. Moltres shielding up the Aerial Switch Clock, not available for the opponent. The Brave Bird is reached, and this is going to be good night for the Jumpluff. Down goes Jumpluff, looking to switch into this Claydol. Claydol able to make the Rock Tomb, and this damage is so important as Rock Tomb lands. Drapion now very low health remaining. They can fire off a last second charge attack, but the damage has already been done. Aqua Tail will not knock out courtesy of that attack drop from the Rock Tomb, and that's going to be another win. Tricky Core Breaker on the lead in the next match, leading Claydol into Greninja. Greninja resists Sucker Punch from the back two mons, and it's able to hit for super effective damage into the Claydol. Claydol calls the Night Slash bait. What a read. The opponent's so confident that every Claydol shields the debuff, but Claydol with the no shield immediately now puts the opponent on the defensive. In comes the Galarian Moltres. There's going to be a switch out by the opponent into the Clodsire, and Clodsire is going to be firing off energy. Immediate no shield from the Moltres. It is going to be the Sludge Bomb coming out from the Clodsire. Clodsire is nowadays more defaulting towards the Sludge Bomb for pacing purposes. Moltres launches the Brave Bird. That's big damage. Opponent is going to be firing off its energy to pick up the knockout, but this sets up Bombirdier so well. Yes, in comes Bombirdier. Bombirdier going to get the full Sucker Punch farm down, exiting with so much energy. There's the switch into Claydol as opponent sends in Greninja. Greninja is going to fire off the Night Slash to pick up the knockout, but now there's a Bombirdier up a shield, and it has a Fly ready to go. Fly is going to be shielded by the Greninja. Greninja now down 2 shields to 0, going to need to get those shields back. They are going to bait with the Night Slash, knowing that Bombirdier is going to have to shield everything. Bombirdier going to go for a double shield farm down, hoping that his energy will be enough to defeat whatever's lurking in the back. In the back is a Skeleturge, and oh boy, this Skeleturge is going to have a terrible day. Rock Tomb, massive damage, Sucker Punch down, and the opponent, they're just getting Sucker Punch down on the Greninja as well. So a tricky core breaker, but it ends up being handled. Great lead in the next match, Claydol into Lapras. This entire team has positive matchups into Lapras. Lapras, of course, does have a pacing advantage, able to strike first with a Sparkling Aria. The Sparkling Aria is going to be no shielded. There's going to be the Rock Tomb. And then will we see a potential switch out into the Galarian Moltres? Rock Tomb is going to land. There's the switch into the Moltres. These Sucker Punches adding up quite significantly. Opponent banks energy on the Lapras and now sends out Clodsire. Farming up just shy of 100 energy, unleashing the Brave Bird. Let's see this damage. Clodsire is going to no shield. They know they can survive it. And now Moltres has a bit of a tough decision to make. Moltres going to shield up the Sludge Bomb, looking to try and force the opponent here into committing a shield or giving up switch advantage. There's another Brave Bird. It's going to pick up the knockout. In comes Annihilate. There's the switch into Claydol. And these Mud Slaps do pretty significant damage in this matchup. But a Shadow Annihilate up shields is scary. Now it's up 2 shields, and there's the snipe from the Lapras. Lapras is going to be able to pick up the knockout with the Sparkling Aria. But the important thing for Maxi is the opponent switched out of their Annihilate's boost. So now in comes Bombirdier. Bombirdier is going to get a nice farm down, and when Annihilate hits the field, Bombirdier will just be able to get so much damage here with the Sucker Punches. The opponent switching out of their boost. They pick up the knockout with the Ice Punch. In comes the Galarian Moltres. They save both shields, and they fade with both shields intact, and that game's going to be a win. We see a big core breaker on the lead in the next match. Claydol into Azumarill. Claydol can get Azumarill low enough that the backline should be able to do pretty decently here, but it is a Pokemon that can hit this entire team for super effective damage. Rock Tomb is going to land. Rock Tomb not doing a ton of damage, but the goal is just to slowly reduce the damage output from this Azumarill. So that way, you leave the Azumarill low, and you leave the Azumarill in a position where their charge attacks are not particularly threatening, and they're forced to switch out. So now this will be a charge attack priority tie. If you're Claydol, you're very comfortable just letting this go. If they undercharge, you can switch, but they are going to full bubble it. In comes Bombirdier, answered with Typhlosion. Typhlosion, a scary Pokemon to see. Banking energy on Bombirdier, sending in the Galarian Moltres, but they're already at back-to-back Thunder Punches. Moltres is going to no-shield. Moltres really wanted that Rock Tomb, couldn't quite get there, and now Bombirdier is going to be down a shield for this endgame, as the opponent will get to fire off the Thunder Punch. Sucker Punch will pick up the knockout. In comes the Azumarill. Can Bombirdier get the farm down here? Bombirdier tries for it, but realizes, unfortunately, it is not going to happen. Fly is going to be shielded. There's another Fly loaded and ready to go. And now the opponent has to double shield. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They want the Bombirdier without shields. Bombirdier needs to be able to one-shot something in the back. Ice Beam is going to get the shield. In the back is Chestnut. Bombirdier cannot get there. The superpower is reached, and this will be game over. Oh, it's actually a Thunder Punch on the Chestnut. Bombirdier almost able to pull off the miracle win. Moving to the next match, we have the Battle of the Mud Slappers, Claydol versus Shadow Marowak. Immediate save switch to Galarian Moltres met with the Shadow Drapion. Very good to bait out the Drapion. Sucker Punch resists, always going to be difficult for this team to handle. Moltres is going to farm up. Over-farming past the Brave Bird, baiting with the Ancient Power. The Ancient Power bait is going to grab a shield from the opponent, making it to another Ancient Power, and I believe this is a charge attack priority tie. The opponent wanting to throw before the Brave Bird is reached. That's great recognition by Maxi, understanding that he can get free damage here since he does win the CMP tie. Aquatail going to set up a farm down there. May have been a slight undercharge by the Drapion as well. In comes the Claydol. Claydol immediately met with the Aquatail, and Claydol just cannot get the farm down. Another move reach. The opponent getting so much value out of this Drapion. It's going to be all up to Bombirdier, and Bombirdier looks like it can sweep. It's going to be a Lapras in the back. Lapras is going to be firing off energy here. Bombirdier now has a choice to make, committing the shield on this Sparkling Aria. Bombirdier going to go for the Rock Tomb. This is hard-hitting, super effective damage. This Rock Tomb is gonna connect. Lapras barely hangs on and makes one final charge attack. You can't shield this as Bombirdier, otherwise you're just gonna end up getting knocked out by a Rock Slide. So now the opponent, can they potentially make double Bone Club? Bone Club would probably be enough here. It's double resisted, but Bombirdier, it hits hard, but it's pretty frail. Bombirdier is going to be shielding up. There's the Bone Club from the opponent. It's going to be a race to the charge move, and Bombirdier is going to be able to take this game. Fly may be neutral, but Bombirdier has a crazy attack stat. Down goes Marowak, and that's game over. Moving to the next match, Claydol for Maxi is going to be staring down an opposing Claydol. When to switch into the Moltres is going to be the key for this particular matchup. Ideally, you want a CMP tie here, which we do actually see the CMP tie, so that way the opponent will be low on energy. The bait from Maxi Rock Tomb is no-shielded. That is so unfortunate. Maxi got a no-shield back, hoping the opponent likewise went for the Rock Tomb, and they did. Now there's the switch into the Moltres. Moltres answered with Morpeko. Morpeko is going to be a pretty significant problem for the backline, so it is very important to bait it out. Ancient Power does add up, but Morpeko will be able to overfarm quite a bit. I believe they're just shy of the Electric plus Dark Aura Wheel double up, but they should be able to survive the Mud Slap here, and they do, so they are able to get the Dark Aura Wheel. Maxi just fully sacrificed the Claydol. Oh, a misplay from the opponent. They clicked Psychic Fangs when they had the Dark Aura Wheel, and now, suddenly, things are looking a little bit better because the Claydol is still on the field. Claydol gonna get to fire off the Ice Beam on charge attack priority. That's gonna pick up the knockout in the back, is going to be Credilli, and this is just not a match that the opponent can win. Bombirdier will be able to debuff them with Rock Tomb until their Rock Tomb will not be enough to knock out. The opponent does the math, and they realize they do not have a win con, so they will resign the match. Hopping into the next match, Claydol is going to be staring down a Dugong, and considering the backline, honestly, this is where you want to see Dugong on this team. As Dugong versus Claydol, the CMP tie is very IV dependent, so the Claydol actually able to win the CMP tie here, but that is not a guarantee by any means. The opponent is going to commit an early shield in this matchup, as they do want the Dugong to survive this matchup and be pretty healthy. There's a switch out into the Moltres. Moltres will get outpaced here if the opponent throws on alignment, and that's exactly what they do. But this is now a debuffed Icy Wind, so for the Moltres, it's very fine, no shielding. Out comes Toxapex. Toxapex, not a Pokemon you want to encounter when your attack has already been lowered by one stage. Brave Bird is going to connect. Can Moltres make another Brave Bird? It cannot. The Poison Jab will KO. In comes the Claydol. Claydol, do you just let this go and fully sacrifice it? No. Protecting the Claydol here, trying to get as much Mud Slap damage as possible, but there's another Brine coming out from the opponent, and Claydol going to double shield. This will set up a big farm down for the Claydol. Opponent does not want to let that happen, and they're going to pivot out into their own Claydol. Immediate debuff applied with the Rock Tomb, and the hope is that with that -1 attack, Bombirdier can survive the attack here from the Claydol. This is super effective damage. No shields remaining for Bombirdier. Ice Beam connects, but thanks to the debuff, Bombirdier survives. Bombirdier gets a big farm down. Opponent brings back in the Toxapex. Toxapex gets farmed down. There's back-to-back Rock Tombs, but I think even with this debuff, unfortunately, Bombirdier cannot survive. It's going to be a race to the charge attack here. Dugong versus Claydol, and Claydol, the CMP winner, came in clutch early in the match, and now clutches the victory here, as Dugong is going to get knocked out with the Icy Wind loaded. Hopping into the final match, and it's going to be one final battle between the two Mud Slappers of Claydol and Shadow Marowak. The safe switch into Galarian Moltres. We will see, to start with, the Marowak actually deciding to stay in here. Marowak firing off a Rock Slide here, then shield by the Moltres. Out comes Drapion, and again, baiting this out is very nice, but if the Drapion's potentially able to sting down, things could get very tricky for the Claydol. Able to grab a shield from the opponent ends up throwing energy, and Moltres more than happy to shield because it just received guaranteed enough energy for the Brave Bird. So now the opponent has to decide, are they going to end up double shielding here? And the answer is yes. Aggressive switch into the Claydol. Claydol just needs to neutralize the Drapion, or even if the Drapion can pick up the knockout, just get it low enough that Bombirdier will be able to take it. The opponent gets damage registration error. That is so unfortunate. The Mud Slap did not go through. Crunch is going to pick up the knockout, but this will set up a nice Sucker Punch farm down for Bombirdier. Waiting down the timer here, in comes Bombirdier, getting the Sucker Punch farm down. Bombirdier is up a shield, and it's up energy. And it's going to be a Lapras in the back, and that's exactly what you want to see as Bombirdier. Lapras only threw 13 Psywaves here. This is only a Sparkling Aria, and that's great counting by Maxi. Opponent gonna send in the Marowak, hoping for the catch, but all Marowak's gonna catch is an immediate fly, which will send it back to its Pokeball. Back in comes the Lapras. Lapras has the hope to Psywave down, but it's just never gonna happen. Rock Tomb into the Lapras, does big damage. Bombirdier gets that Sucker Punch down, and that is a good game. All in all, big congratulations to Maxi for this monster climb with Bombirdier. Bombirdier is one of my favorite Pokemon designs, so I'm really happy that they've taken the steps over the course of many seasons to turn it into a viable Pokemon. Bombirdier still definitely lies in the land of anti-meta, but when paired with some strong teammates, it's able to put up some pretty nice results. And even though its pacing isn't as fast as something like a Shadow Drapion, its ability to close out games with terrifying amounts of damage and debuffing opponents to increase its lack of bulk, I think does make it a very playable Pokemon in the right hands. So Bombirdier is a Pokemon that I would love to also get one for the Ultra League. Unfortunately, that requires an insane amount of XL candy that I do not have. So I would love to see it in the wild someday so we could actually get good IVs of it. And that way we'd have a better chance of getting the XLs instead of having to do raids, because realistically, if something's in raids and there's no guaranteed XLs, like at least the legendaries, you get 3 guaranteed XLs for catching it and an extra 3 if you do the raid in person. Without the guaranteed XLs, unfortunately, it makes getting the XL Bombirdier kind of a pipe dream at best. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.